To bring to order the June 26th meeting of the Tiverton Town Council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk.
Councilor Perry?
Present.
Councilor Janik?
Present.
Councilor Edwards?
Present.
Councilor DiMederos?
Present.
Councilor Burke?
Present.
Councilor Milburn? Present. Councilor Edward is absent.
I haven't heard from him, did you? No? Okay. At this time, I'd like to have a moment of silence for Thomas Daglosh. As you all know, he was a journalist for East Bay newspaper, writing for Cotta Times for over 15 years. He has a huge resume, including lawyer, educator. He was always very fair to Tiverton in everything that he wrote, and would check with us before writing anything at all. So we'll all miss him, and we appreciate his service. Okay. Consent agenda. Acknowledge receipts of minutes from boards, commissions, and committees. Economic Development Commission 1, Planning Board 5. Acknowledge receipt of correspondence from the Town of Burrillville. Resolution in opposition of S-0137 and H-5201, relief of injured and deceased firefighters and police officers. Presumption for heart disease and hypertension. Town of Barrington. Resolution celebrating the month of June is Barrington Pride Month. Acknowledge receipts of reports. Treasurer Charette. May 2023 Budget and Revenue Reports. Approval of tax assessor abatements, $311.97. Approval of uncollectable tax abatements, $44,679.04. Approval of Bay Street Moratorium, extension to December 1st, 2023. Would anyone like to take anything off the consent agenda? I'd like to entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? I do have two public comments from Jamie French. Jamie, I don't know where you are, but this will be on the agenda, and I will let you speak at that time. Is that okay? Is she here? Yeah. I'll let you speak when it comes up, okay? Okay. Appointments and resignations and discussion and possible votes. Acknowledge of resignation Amanda Souza from the Planning Board effective 6/8/2023, and Wendy Taylor not seeking reappointment to the Zoning Board, term ending 7/15/2023. I'd entertain a motion to accept their resignation and thank them for their service.
So moved. Second.
Motion's
With regrets.
with regrets.
Yes.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Zoning Revision Committee, 2 public members, 2-year term, 2 vacancies. Have we interviewed any of these?
No,
Okay.
not for this purpose.
All right. The first one is Susan Anderson, 1137 Main Road, requests appointment term ending
No, we
5.
did, I'm sorry, we did Susan.
We did Susan.
Yeah.
Susan, I'm sorry, I wasn't here last meeting. Did we do Jamie?
No.
Okay.
Her name was
Jamie
Dennis.
Robin French, 48 Craig Avenue, request appointment term ending 5/7/2025. Jamie, would you like to come up? Jamie, you can take a seat if you'd like. Is that more comfortable?
Yeah.
Thank you for applying. Would you like to tell us why you would like to join this committee and your qualifications?
I'd like to because I think that zoning is the key to health, welfare, and quality of life in Tiverton. Zoning is what makes a community. On many communities that are unincorporated, incorporate because of zoning, because they require zoning. And when they require zoning, that's when they annex or incorporate. And so that means it's a real important issue. I have worked on, I've been active in Tiverton, and I am pretty much aware of the zoning. I've read it quite a few times. I'm familiar with the form-based code, seeing that I've lived in Tucson, and the form-based code has already been built out there, and it's the same form-based code that we have. And I do know the ins and outs of that. Some things were really positive, some things actually were pedestrian and bicycle killers. And they haven't, the form-based code, even though it's been around for 20, 30 years, we still have the original plan, it's not the adapted one. And I've been on many committees where zoning was important. I've been in Tucson, I was on recreation committees, landscape committees, federal transportation committees. I went to zoning. I was asked by zoning a number of times to come up and speak to them, to represent neighbors, because sometimes the neighbors were shy about speaking up. And I, Tiverton is where I was born and where I was raised, and it's becoming, it's not the same, and it's just not the same. I have real concern that when we want to do open land, people say, oh no, you can't do that because it'd be spot zoning. But then if someone says, oh, maybe we should find a new place for a crematorium, it's like, oh sure, we can just change the zoning, And it's like, why would we think to even consider changing zoning for corporations, but not something that would help
Jamie, I have to ask you a question.
communities?
We didn't change any zoning to allow a crematorium, so I'm not sure what you're
Oh,
referring
well,
to.
it was suggested at the planning board when the amendment came up about whether or not you had two questions on that. I forget what the letters were, but your first question is to remove it from the form-based code and to remove it from the waterfront district and the
Okay, so
highway commercial district.
So the
And those
letter
were
they
the
came
two
back.
areas. And
Yes,
then the second question I didn't quite understand was, we'll remove it from all areas, but if you take it out of form-based code, commercial, highway, and waterfront, there is no zone. So anyway, so I thought those were yes and no questions. Either we agree or we don't agree. Yes or no, do you agree?
So what they were asked to do was to look at the ordinance that is proposed
Yes.
and give us their feedback based on state law. There's a whole list of things that they need to give us
Right.
feedback on.
And
They came back with, it doesn't fit into the comprehensive plan in the site, in the most areas of the town, but suggests we might want to look at a place like the industrial park.
Which
That's
would
what they
mean a
said.
change of zoning.
Okay, but you
I mean, so
had
that
suggested
would
that we
be
had
a-
changed zoning, and we had not changed zoning to
No, I'm just
allow for a
saying,
crematorium.
I'm just saying that if we can discuss it, if we can take for consideration the fact that we might want to discuss having a crematorium in our watershed today, but yesterday saying we're so proud of ourselves for protecting the Aquidneck Islands watershed. It's like, well, let's, so I have, anyway, it all has to do with zoning. And right now, the zoning is difficult to follow when you're reading it, when it goes from the R30 zoning, residential, and it goes into the form-based code. It doesn't really clearly state where you're going, how to use those things and how they work together. And it's just some, when you look at the form-based code in zoning, in general commercial, a P is permitted, but in form-based code it's only permitted after a administrative review. But so people don't understand that if you don't read those little technical footprints, how that is, or how on the comprehensive plan, the North Tiverton was in, future land use map was in brown, and that meant medium density. But in the future, but then when it was revoked, the brown color turned into high density. And so it went from medium density to high density, but kept the same color. And so it's very, people don't actually notice that. They don't realize that the significant change has happened. And those type of things need to be addressed in the revision so that it's easier for all of us and for people coming in, so that corporations know what we want, and, you know, and what you know, it just needs to be clarified, and that's why this committee is here, right? I would also like, and I will ask that, like the other committees, that any extra applicants not be denied onto the committee, but be considered for voting alternates.
Yeah, we're going to discuss that later. I don't agree with that, but I'll be able to discuss that later.
Right, because it was asked by the police chief.
Yeah, I know.
Last
I
meeting.
wasn't here.
And I
I
said-
wasn't here, but I have an opinion about it.
And I have asked for that,
And to
because I
clar-
think that way
to
you
clar-
always have a quorum.
To clarify, those were not for voting alternates, those for alternates, so that if someone wasn't there, they could vote.
Right.
But not,
Right, unless,
as part
yeah,
of
it's a
the-
vote, I consider that a voting alternate, or an alternate with a voting power, but they can only vote when they have to attend, they have to note they're voting on, they have to attend the meetings, and
Well,
they
that's
have.
the problem, too.
Well, but then that should be a question. I mean, it should be the same standard as for anyone on the committee, that you should have to know what you're talking about before you vote for it, right? Anyway, thank you, I'm taking up too
Wait a
much
minute,
time.
any questions from the council? Any questions? All right, thank you,
Okay.
Jamie.
Thank you.
Now, it was brought to my attention that Cheryl Valentine, is she here?
she's over there.
So Cheryl, you would like to be considered for the zoning review committee?
Yes.
You can come
On
up.
the website, I applied for it today.
You can come up. Because you all, is that, so you want to withdraw from the north end? Or do you want to stay on that?
I wanted to stay on that one as well.
Want to do both?
And do both if I could.
Okay.
Can we do this, can we just add her name to the agenda, please, by vote? This is only for
Yep.
discussion only at this point.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
only discussion only.
So I'd like to make a motion to add for discussion only Cheryl Valentine's name for the zoning revision committee.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Hi, Cheryl.
Hi.
So tell us why you'd like to be on the zoning revision committee.
I live in the neighborhood, as you know, closest to the industrial park, and I've gained very good insight and knowledge of that area. I understand the land around there. I've lived there for 25 years. Prior to that, I also lived in North Tiverton, so I understand the needs of that area. I have a strong business background. I've been involved with business startups and what businesses are looking for to relocate or to come into a town. I've worked with economic development corporations, town leadership, building inspectors, all the local leadership and government regulations. And I feel that I understand what business needs and what they're going to be looking for coming in. I understand zoning. I know changes need to be made for the benefit of residents in North Tiverton and also for the neighborhoods near the industrial park. And I feel with a strong business background, it would add to the committee.
Thank you. Any questions for Cheryl?
Just,
Yes.
well, I know, you said, so how would you see yourself having the time to devote to both committees?
Right now, I am consulting, so I can basically make my own hours. So I am free to attend all the meetings.
Okay.
I've started getting involved in December or January.
Right.
I've attended all the various meetings. I've even been to water department meetings. I'm trying to get an understanding of all the different areas.
And know that they're not part of the town government.
But I'm trying to just get a better understanding and where maybe my expertise could best be utilized. So that's what I'm trying to do. And since I have the time right now, I really want to do this.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. So there's 3 applicants for 2 vacancies, so we'll put it back on the
Yeah,
agenda.
Because she wasn't on the.
Right, right, and we'll make a decision next week, next meeting. Zoning Revision Committee, we have to appoint a town council member. I do know the councilor, Jay Edwards, is interested. Are any of the other councilors interested? So I'd like to entertain a motion.
Move the appointment of Jay Edwards as the town council member for the zoning revision committee.
Jay, would you like to say anything?
God have mercy on my soul.
I just felt he needed to say something since I kind of forced him into
But I
this.
think it's very appropriate for you to be on that.
Yeah, and I think it's very appropriate.
Yes, as liaison to zoning and planning, we have seen so many, so much of zoning that needs to be rewritten and updated, so I think you'll be very valuable.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
I'll vote for myself.
Yeah. Now, the Budget Committee,
Brendan was here before.
Brendan was interviewed, but I don't think Ian is here, is she?
He wasn't?
Brendan was in, no, you're right, we didn't.
Right, he,
Oh, that's right, that's right. It was somebody else I was thinking of.
I'm a little behind because I wasn't here 2 weeks ago, but,
So I make a motion, we move this. Oh,
Madam President, I also received, I reached out to Ann Lawton and explained that once you're on the Budget Committee, you can't be on any other committee. So she has withdrawn her name from recommendation for this,
Second.
for
oh,
no, for the
Budget Committee.
For budget.
oh, all right. Okay.
So I make a motion, we move this item to the next agenda and ask Brendan one more time to be here and also seek other members.
So moved.
Has there been any communication with Brendan?
Yes, he has responded to me.
I'm just concerned if he can't come to the meeting.
He was
I-
able to the last meeting.
Okay. Because it's quite the responsibility to be on the Budget Committee, so I just,
It is.
okay, so we'll table that until the next meeting.
Okay, you don't need a motion for that.
Recycling Landfill Committee, 5 members, 3-year term, 4 vacancies. Jean Pierre, I'm gonna,
Moline?
Moline. 155 Concurrence Avenue, request appointment 11/2/2026.
No, 10 Bowen Avenue. You're looking at the wrong line.
Oh, I apologize. 10 Bowen Avenue. Is Jean here? No. Did you get any
He
communication?
didn't respond, but he didn't say negative. He was emailed.
All right, we'll move it to the next one. North End at Industrial Business Park Advisory Subcommittee, 4 public members, 4 vacancies. We have one more person to interview, Sharon Carosi. Is she here? And I probably butchered your last name, didn't I?
Carosi.
Carosi, okay.
That's close enough.
Welcome, Sharon. Just give us a brief idea of why you'd like to be on this committee and your qualifications or experience.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me here this evening. My name is Sharon Caros, and I live at 10 Starlet Road in North Tiverton. I've lived in North Tiverton for a whopping 2.5 years now. And previous to that, I lived in East Greenwich, Rhode Island for 25 years. While living in East Greenwich, I've had the opportunity to serve on various community boards. Professionally, I am a joyously retired registered nurse, and I'd like to think that over the years, I've been able to hone some skills that might be valuable to this committee. I feel that my strengths are my ability to learn, my inquisitiveness, my ability to listen carefully, to think critically, to research, and I think most importantly, to play nice in the sandbox would be valuable here. The reason I'm here and the reason I want to be on this committee is because I've only been here for 2.5 years, but, you know, Tiverton is now my home. And like all of us, I want to see Tiverton be the best place it can be for all of us. So, so thank you. And if chosen, I would love to do the work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any questions for Sharon? Mike?
No?
Okay, thank you. So we interviewed 5, we added a 6th. We made the decision that we would appoint this meeting, so we'd have to waive our policy. So do I have a motion to waive our policy?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor? And now I'll entertain motions for appointment.
If I may.
Sure.
First off, I want to thank those who have put their names in for this and other committees. For this committee specifically, we had a dearth of applicants at first, and then now we have an abundance. So that's good to see. And I also want to note that if you're not chosen for a committee, there are other opportunities. And it doesn't mean that you can't attend the meetings and, participate as a public member. If permitted, I would like to make a motion for a group of folks, unless folks want them separately.
No.
And Deb, you're the co-chairs, or you're the co-council member, I should say.
So you want a motion to do it?
Well, I'm looking
That
to
helps
Deb,
me
because
too.
she's the co-council member. I want to see if she has any input.
Do you want to do one at a time?
I think we should do one at a
Okay.
time.
Okay. So who would like to make the first motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Brian Goff of 210 Kaufman Road for a term ending 4/1/24.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion seconded by, we'll give it to Deb since she's the co-chair. It's probably me because I just pushed that way. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? I'd like to entertain another motion.
I'd like to make a motion for Andrea Souza, 177 Hilton Street, number 2, for appointment term ending 4/1/2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? I'd like to entertain another motion.
Make a motion to appoint Ann Lawton of 155 Carnes Avenue for a term ending 4/1/24.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? One more.
And I'd like to make a motion to appoint Sharon Caruso, 10 Starlet Road, request appointment term ending 4/1/2024.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? Yes, Deb?
Oops, I'm sorry, we're voting.
All those in favor? Okay, congratulations to the 4 that made it. And like Mike said, anyone can come to the meeting and put their input in. And you're welcome to.
I think we wanted to kind of keep people who are, furthest north on this committee. So thank you, but everyone else is invited to attend with us.
Like to say anything else? Okay. Board of Canvassers, candidate to fill the vacant position for Tiverton Board of Canvassers, 6-year term to expire 10/15/2023. We have 5 from the Tiverton Democratic Town Committee, and we have 5 from the Tiverton Republic Town Committee. The chairman of the Democratic Committee did give me his nomination. I haven't heard from the Republican Committee. Do you want to interview these people, or do you want to?
No, I think we should.
Okay. Andrea Souza, Democratic Town Committee. If you're not in. Hi, Andrea.
everybody. How
You've
are
been
you?
on this committee before,
I've
so tell us a
actually,
little bit about it.
so I'm actually seeking an appointment as a full board member, as I have been the Democrat alternate for almost 8 of the past years. I know how the board works, obviously from being on for 8 years, and I also know what's entailed in being on the Board of Canvassers. I have learned so much about how elections work in general, and the impact that the process the Board of Canvassers oversees impacts the town and the townspeople. I have developed a wonderful working relationship with my Democrat colleague, Paul Amaral, as well as a wonderful working relationship with my Republican colleague, Dieta Moran, and also Bobby Harris, who we will be missing quite a bit. So I believe that the time has also come to allow a Democrat majority on the Board of Canvassers, as for as long as I have been on for 8 years, and I no longer, it's been a Republican majority. So I think the time has come to allow the Democrats to have the majority again. And that is all I have to say.
Mike?
A question and then a comment, and it's a similar question. I don't remember the exact wording that I asked Nancy Driggs when she was here before us for the Republican alternate. In your opinion, was the last presidential election a fair election, and is Joe Biden our president?
Absolutely. It was a 100% fair election, especially in this town, because we really oversaw everything. We double-checked everything. So it was a fair election, and yes, Joe Biden is President of the United States.
Thank you. And then a comment, just to echo Andrea, I've been in town for just around 20 years, just over 20 years, and I'm pretty sure during that whole time it's been a Republican majority. And
It has.
what happened, so this is, for those who don't know, this is the only political committee, if you will, that the council appoints to. And that's by state statute, and it has to be 3 members, and it has to have Republicans and Democrats. In the past, when we were a partisan council, elected as a partisan council, it generally went to whoever carried the majority, the Democrats or the Republicans. The next time the positions were open, it would go to that party, and that's generally what has happened. But right after, probably 3 years after I came in, we moved to a nonpartisan election, and that's kind of when this lost track. So we might want to think about in our chart, any charter changes of finding a way to balance that out in the future. But for now, I agree. I think we need to appoint a Democrat to this.
Thank you.
I just have one question. So now
sorry.
that we've appointed you to the other committee, and you know the time that's involved with the canvases, do you feel you'll have time to do that?
I do, absolutely. I wouldn't go for this if I didn't.
Okay.
Canvases are usually busier right around
Well, they're
election.
election
Yeah.
And then we don't see or hear from them for many months.
Unless,
So-
just had to
like,
ask the
Unless-
question.
unless
yeah.
Congress people resign or there's special, yes.
Yeah, unless there's something specific. It was a very busy committee years ago. It's been a little calmer
Been a
lately.
little quiet.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is Cameron Ramsey here? Dan Farnsworth? Linda Jenkins? Stu Gilfillan. I will tell you that Stu, the Democratic chairman, did give me Andrea's name. So, Nancy Driggs, Mark Constance, Laurie Myers, Stephen Horridge, Robert Coulter. These were the recommendations of the Tiverton Republican Town Committee. We can appoint tonight if we choose to.
You can.
All right.
You have one open, one.
Yep. Okay, do I have a well, I'd like to make a nomination for Andrea Souza.
Second.
Motion's been made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Public hearing, advertised discussion and possible votes. Restiv LLC DBA Four Corners Grille, 3841 Main Road, request approval to convert liquor license from Class BVL limited to beer and wine to Class BV full liquor, subject to meeting all legal requirements. Is anyone here from? Hi, there you are.
That's why I recognize the face.
I was looking right at you and not even thinking.
I'm Dave Gorman. This is Jim Gorman, James Gorman, Christine Gorman for the others.
My question to Joan earlier today was the license, the restricted license, is that for outdoor dining also? Is that on there?
There was no mention of it on the liquor license. There's no mention of it.
So there's no mention of it at all?
This was for, they applied in June of '22 for their own liquor license, the BVL, the limited.
You do have outside, though, right now. This is going to become an issue. And this diagram shows outside, is that correct? All right. We have been doing a little bit of investigation around this, and maybe, I don't even remember, I think it was 2018, there was a little bit of controversy about outdoor dining. And at the time, our town administrator talked with everyone and all the business owners, and he suggested at the time, because we didn't really have it in front of us, we would give temporary outdoor dining to some facilities. But it is on our list of things to do, that we are going to end up making a permanent policy sooner rather than later.
Can I just ask a question?
Sure.
So I'm looking at the map, your floor plan, I don't see, is there outdoor? I don't see any outdoor.
Outdoors will be here.
I don't think that's on there.
Oh, no?
Oh, it's, okay. So, just to echo the council presidents, so under COVID, there's a current law on the books that I think expires in February 2024, that regardless of what the town does now, we have to permit you to have outdoor dining and liquor. That expires in February 2024, I believe is the date. However, you're not allowed to have more tables than the total area that you have. So say if your restaurant has 20 tables, you could have 10 inside, 10 outside, or 20 outside, but you can't have 20 and 20.
Right.
So that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at. But that's under current laws, so you just have to be cognizant of that.
Okay.
My suggestion would be to grant the license for the indoor that we have now, with the understanding that they are going to be allowed outside under that law, and then we'll revisit the other.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have to revisit that ordinance
yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
But my
sorry.
question is, right now, is your DEM, your septic is approved for how many seats?
It's for, what was the? No,
Inside?
Inside and out.
Well, it's inside and out.
Yeah,
total.
total 50, yeah.
50. And how many tables do we show here?
Inside, we have two booths, two four-seater booths on one side, three four-seaters on the other, so that's, if they're all full,
Trying to count now.
that
yeah.
would be 20. And then we have two four-seater tables and two two-seater tables, so that'd be 30.
Outside and in?
That's it.
Okay,
So
how about outside?
outside, we have.
We have,
Do you have 20?
We have 6 tables, 4 of them are 4-seaters, 2 of them are 2-seaters.
Okay. So you've done it. It's 50.
So is it in this gross area, 2130, or over here in the
It would
main?
be over to where the main dining room is, it's right to the left of that as
This?
I'm looking at it, yes,
Okay.
correct.
It's over here.
Yes, correct.
That's why I thought that might have been it.
Yeah,
But
no,
when
I
first
I
looked
should have
at
been
it.
more up on it. I wasn't-
No, it's because when I first looked at it, I thought this might be it, because
No,
I know where it
that's-
is.
Right,
so
yeah, that's the main dining room, that it's abuts that.
It's over to, you're right. And your parking lot is in the front.
In front, correct.
Any questions from the council? Yes, oh,
But
Jay.
how does the alcohol get outside?
It would come from an indoor refrigerator, where basically, we're not looking to really add a bunch of bottled spirits, like have a bottle of gin there, a bottle of vodka. We're looking to do like a pre-mixed, already bottled cocktail. They're very popular these days. They became really popular during COVID. Not that we offered them at our other place at Secana. And there seems to be a little bit of a push for that from the public, looking for, so we're looking at like new bottled gin and tonics, new bottled margaritas, Mai Tais. We're not setting up a bar, we don't have the room or the storage for it. So we're really just looking to add to our current bottle selection, pre-done cocktails.
So I take that to mean then
The liquor's inside.
a waitress will bring the food out and bring the alcohol out.
That is correct.
You have no intention of trying to open up a little bar out there?
No, absolutely not. There's going to be no structural change to what we're doing right now. We're just basically adding some bottled selections to our current offerings.
Any questions from the council?
just,
Oh, Mike.
whenever we make a motion, I would ask that it includes, for you to give us a revised drawing with the outdoor tables
We could certainly do
shown.
that, absolutely.
I'd like to open the public hearing right now. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this subject? Anyone like to speak on this subject? I'll close the hearing and ask for a motion.
I make a motion to approve, let me go back to my, Restiv LLC, doing business as Four Corners Grille, 3841 Main Road, approval to convert their Class BVL liquor license to a Class BV liquor license, subject to meeting all legal requirements and with an updated floor plan to show the tables outside.
Second.
Motion been made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next public hearing is Michaela Angel and Michelle Angel, wedding event. Consideration of sound variance for a wedding at 59 Woodland Circle on Saturday, September 2nd, 2023, from 3 to 11 p.m., and request approval of a special event permit. I know a lot about this wedding. I just got my invitation. All right, just tell us a little bit about it. Parking will be where?
Parking is approved to be at the Tiverton High School. I've spoken with the superintendent of schools about that.
And you'll be busing them back and forth?
We'll be busing people back and forth to the house. So parking at the house will be limited to vendors only, a handful of vehicles for waitresses, bar staff, caterers, photographers.
And you're renting porta potties?
We have a portable restroom trailer that we're getting from CNS Restrooms in Portsmouth.
And you want a sound variance for a DJ?
Correct.
Any questions?
No, what a great idea to have the buses from the high school.
Any questions from anyone?
Is the tent one in there too?
Yeah, there's a,
Yeah, I did apply for the tent permit as well with the building department, which I think is on hold until we get our approval, hopefully here tonight.
They grant the check.
The building official grants the tent permit, not us.
Right after usually after we approve this.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's a diagram if anyone sees it. Hey, I'd like to open up the public hearing. Anyone would like, in the audience, like to speak regarding this permit? Anyone like to speak? I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the sound variance for the wedding at 59 Woodland Circle on Saturday, September 2nd, 2023, from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m., and approval of the special event permit for that, pending meeting all legal requirements.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? There you go, good luck.
Have a great wedding.
Approval of proposed amendment to Tiverton Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2 Administration, Finance, to add Sections 2-91, Restricted Appropriation Accounts, and 2.95, Restricted Revenue Accounts, which proposes to create various restricted appropriation and revenue accounts related to the budgetary process. For anyone listening out there and wasn't aware, instead of the resolutions you vote for every single year, instead of resolutions, we're making ordinance regarding the finances. Because we had to remember it every single year, and it became quite the problem if we didn't. So that's why we decided to make it in form of ordinances. We got correspondence from Tom Snell and correspondence from John Neary. We've also, and I think you've all received various emails this week and this weekend.
All those folks.
Yeah, I had that somewhere. All right. Do you want me to do each one separate? The first one, 2/91, restricted appropriation accounts. Appropriations to the following named accounts are non-transferable, except to other municipal accounts in a declared state of emergency, shall remain in said accounts and shall be carried over into the next fiscal year. Accounts to be used for the same purpose as originally appropriated. The reevaluation account, the election account, paving, drainage, curbing, and sidewalk, sand, salt, and gravel. Is the DPW director here? Is this?
No, he's right there.
Yeah, there he is. Is there any more we wanted to add to this, or that was it? I don't, for some reason, So it's paving, Rick, drainage, curving, sidewalks, sand, salt, and gravel.
Those are the ones that we come away that we discussed.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we had them all.
Sorry.
Go
I just want to, so at our last meeting, the reason this is back before us tonight is actually because we added the minimum of 25% to each of the two next sections.
Yep.
And we added the closing of the restricted receipt account at the industrial park after everything is all done there.
But we didn't vote on any of
We
those?
didn't vote on any.
Okay.
And I would mention to Denise and Mike that those are two accounts, not one account for DPW.
Yeah, they're separate.
Yep.
Three is paving, all that stuff, and 4 is sand, salt, and gravel.
Yep. I just wanted to make sure that was okay with you. Okay, thank you. So restricted revenue accounts, Tiverton Industrial Park land sale, a minimum of 25% of the net proceeds generated from the sale of any parcel of land within the Tiverton Industrial Park shall be placed in a restricted reserve account as established by the town treasurer to be used exclusively for the infrastructure improvements to the industrial park as determined by the town council by way of an appropriation ordinance. This restricted revenue account shall close upon completion of all public improvements as well as disposition of all town-owned or controlled property other than public streets and improvements in the industrial park. Sound okay to the council?
Can I go back to 2-91?
Yes.
So on section 3, can we just add a paving, drainage, curbing, and sidewalk account, add the word account, and the sand, salt, and gravel account?
Okay.
Just to make it consistent.
Thank you.
We can make that as a motion.
Motion to amend section 291-3 to add the word account before the semicolon, and for the sand, salt, and gravel to add the word account after the word gravel.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Motion made second. All those in favor of that change? Okay, the next.
Can I ask one question about,
Sure.
is the next one industrial park?
I've already done I read the industrial park, so do you have a question with the industrial park? I'm going to
Yeah,
open this up
when
to the
we,
public once we,
When we close that account, do we need to clearly define where the money will go? Or if we do, is it okay to assume it'll go?
is it assumed it's going to go into the general fund?
Well, if the account is closed, it's going to be used for that purpose until those purposes are
Right.
done.
So
So
let's say there's $10,000 left in there after those purposes.
we just have to
are
make a
done.
formal transfer.
But we
at
could do
time.
that without saying it in the ordinance.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because at the time, we may want to
Right.
transfer
Might
it
go somewhere else,
differently.
yeah.
Capital would be what I was thinking. All right.
We can only hope that it goes that quickly.
Yeah. Land conveyance transfer tax, a minimum of 25% of all revenues received by the town of Tiverton as a result of the imposition of the real estate conveyance tax as set forth at Rhode Island General Law 41-25-1 shall be placed in a restricted reserve account to be established by the town treasurer. The town council may appropriate funds from the restricted account for the purchase of land in fees simple for open space, the acquiring of conservation easements, the protection and preservation of water and other natural resources, or the maintenance of public parks and recreation equipment. Anyone like to make any comments regarding this?
Yeah, I know that when we talked about this last time, we had actually recommended, because it was 25%, we had recommended like 35 or 50%, because where Councilman Edwards and I sit on we are liaisons to planning and zoning, there's just this impetus to buy up every single piece of space in Tiverton and build on it. So we had looked at maybe 35 or 50%, so that we could have more money for open space. And I know the council felt that that was tying up too much funding at this time. So we talked about doing a minimum of 25%. That I recall. I don't recall this adding to the maintenance of public parks and recreation equipment.
This is the same language.
Did we?
This is the same
Yeah.
language that's been before us.
Yeah.
Well, that's
This
what I
has been,
wondered.
this has been here since May 5th, and this is the language that went out for public hearing. Where it came from, I have no idea.
And I've been researching that all day, trying to figure it out.
Right, it was
Because
not,
I-
it was not part of the resolution
All right.
that we've sent out every single time. So where that came from, I've been asking a lot of questions about it and not really finding the reason it's here. But I do have concerns that if you look at the charter specifically says the duties and responsibilities of the Land Commission. It also states what they do and what they buy and how they work, and it never mentions the maintenance of public parks and recreation. So I'm not quite sure if that makes a difference. I know it was brought up to you on May 5th by the town clerk, and you said, well, if there's a problem, we can just vote it down. I personally, first of all, I don't know where it came from, but I've been doing this for a long time. We've never used that for public parks and recreation equipment. And as we've done in the past, we've always gotten grants for that, or we've used budgetary money for that. And like you said, Deb, there is a push to buy everything in the world down here. And I think the more money that we accumulate to buy open space, the better off we are for the whole community. So
Because
that's
this-
just my opinion.
This sounds like if the slide breaks at Town Farm, the money comes from here, and that's not really the intent.
Right. Jay, I know you had your hand up.
Right, so I sent everybody an email with my opinions on this and how I think the ordinance should read. And my reasonings for that, my big reasons are that my version would maintain and continue the original intent purpose of the previous revolutions that go back as far as 1999. I would also maintain the purview of the Open Space Fund to the Open Space Conservation Commission. We would still maintain the town council's ultimate overall authority to approve expenditures, but only upon recommendation of that commission. My version does not allow, and in writing does not allow, the expenditure of these funds for purposes other than open space land purchases, excuse me, conservation easements, and protection of natural resources. I specifically do not mention its use for maintaining of parks and recreational equipment. And my version strives to ensure that funds for these purposes will be available when they are needed. Because a lot of these opportunities for open space and conservation come up quickly, and you have to have the funds available when they occur.
Any other council? Councilor Burke?
Again, I looked and I have no idea where that additional language came from, so I have no problem getting rid of that. I would just suggest that we take the language that's here on B1, go to the end, be placed in a restricted reserve account to be established by the town treasurer, and under the purview of the Open Space and Land Conservation Commission in accordance with the provisions of the town charter and with the approval of any appropriations by the town council. To simplify it.
Any comments from the council?
So do you want to just keep it at 1 and do away with A?
Yeah, do away with A, and just suggest that we add.
Or we just have to
add
the town council?
some of the language that you have, Jay, that says, and Mike, you might have to.
Yeah,
So upon,
waiting, yeah.
shall be placed in a restricted reserve account to be established by the town treasurer under the purview of the Open Space and Land Conservation Commission in accordance with the provisions of the town charter and with any appropriations to be approved by the town council.
With recommendation from.
Right, which is basically what the charter says, but we can specify that, yeah.
With recommendation from the Open Space Commission.
And then I can look at it.
Let me write it down for you.
So just for your, as it's proposed, not with this amendment, there was the 25%, you said it was violated of the charter. This didn't make any mention of the land trust in that as proposed, so
No.
there was no violation of the charter there.
No, right. Well, it doesn't matter because we're changing it. But the 25% is staying.
Minimum.
Yeah,
The
that is
minimum, the
basic.
minimum?
Right, and that was part of the agreement last time, was that we'd at least put a minimum of that. We could
Minimum, right.
up it if we felt one year we had enough extra money to put in there.
So we do it at the end or at the beginning of the budget cycle?
It would be part of the budget cycle, yeah.
It'll have to be.
It has to be because, yeah.
I mean, the
It
town
has-
administrator could answer better than I do, but we did have this discussion during the budget session. We had a higher number, but the administrator had booked some of that revenue for general revenue to be used to fund the budget, so we had to take the number down to
Right.
25%.
So every year.
Every year, that's when it's going to be decided.
When we do the resolution.
Unless there's a big purchase of land somewhere or whatever,
When we
or
do the
or a
budget
lot of
resolu-
transfers, correct?
resolution, we'd have to keep that in mind. Chris?
So the only question I have would be for members of the Open Space Commission, to the extent, and I don't know where they get those resources from to maintain Fort Barton, Weedamo Woods, or others as far as trails go and those kind of things, because we really don't have a budget for that kind of stuff. So I don't know, and maybe the conveyance tax is not what they use, but I don't know if they use other funds that subsidize those needs.
I don't. Yeah,
And it covers all that? Okay, all
For the
right,
most part.
sorry.
yeah. No, I thought so. That's why I was looking at you.
And you have
Yeah.
Your
grant,
budget
you
is
have
that big,
grants
so that's-
too, right?
No, it isn't, but. I know you got a budget, but I know we're doing a lot of work up there that,
Well,
I know that
I
DPW
think,
is doing some of it.
Next year, I'll try to get that increased too.
I think I have to say to their credit, it's a lot of volunteer.
Oh, no, it's a
lot
ton of it.
volunteers. Right, it's a lot of
Okay, all right.
volunteerism and it's a lot of hard work.
I just didn't know if you had a funding source that you did some other things with that I was just unaware of, that's all. I know we get grants and other things that we use for like down, so I just want to make sure that we didn't do something we didn't need to.
I'll tell you later. Chris,
So, do you want to hold the public hearing?
Yes.
Or a motion first?
I'm going to do the public hearing. Should I do a motion first so they know where we're coming from? I think so. All right, I'm going to do a motion first. And then if you all want to speak, you can, because I do know why you're all here. We've been hearing from you. So, a motion.
I make a motion that we amend Section 295B as it is before us, 1, to add language at the end after town treasurer, remove the period, and add under the purview of the Open Space and Land Preservation Commission in accordance with the provisions of the town charter, with any appropriations to be approved by the town council based on the recommendations of the Open Space and Land Preservation Commission, and strike that subsection A in its entirety.
Okay. Do I have a second before I open the,
Second.
okay?
Do you want me to just read that as a whole?
Yeah, we're going to read it as a whole so everyone knows what it says, okay?
So, under that, excuse me, B, say land conveyance transfer tax, 1, a minimum of 25%, actually, we don't need the 1 probably, right? Or do you? Okay. 1, a minimum of 25% of all revenues received by the town of Tiverton as a result of the imposition of the real estate conveyance tax as set forth at RIGL Section 44-25-1 et sec, shall be placed in a restricted reserve account to be established by the town treasurer under the purview of the Open Space and Land Preservation Commission in accordance with the provisions of the town charter, and with any appropriations to be approved by the town council of the Open Space and Land Preservation Commission.
Did I get a second?
Second, yeah.
Strike one.
Yeah, strike. Any further discussion from the council before I open it up? Okay, I'd like to open the public hearing. Anyone from the audience would like to comment on this? We didn't vote yet.
May I speak?
Sure.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted
Ladies before gentlemen, I'll decide right now.
My name's Maureen Morrow, and yes, a lot of people came tonight because sort of at the last moment, we found out about this language. And I guess the thing I'm a little surprised that nobody knows how that language got in there. I mean, how can that happen, that language gets into a proposed ordinance with no one knowing how it got there?
I agree, but nobody knows how it got there, so at least we didn't vote for it, so.
And the thing is, it almost got voted on at the last meeting. There was some other technical catch in the language. I don't think you were here, Denise. I actually watched it on YouTube. And that's why it didn't get voted on the last time. So it was kind of like a close call here with language about funding recreation out of this fund. And then the final thing I want to say is I completely agree with you, Deb, about, the open spaces being snatched up all over the place. So, to maintain the rural integrity of the town, it would be great if we could do a minimum of 25% but increase it. And actually, I have one more thing. So in the future, some of us went back and read the announcement in the Cotta Times about this proposed change, and to read that announcement, you would have no idea what this was really about. The language was very vague. So if announcements that might alert people to come to a meeting and make comment should be as specific as possible. So thank you very much.
And I think in response, because in my recollection, we were going to be adding the minimum of 25. I didn't even realize all that extra until I opened my email Friday night and had 10 emails from people.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's not in there. And then I
Right.
looked at it, and it sure was.
Right.
So
Okay.
I don't think we even knew that
All right.
that's what we were voting on.
Thanks very much.
Just state your name, please.
Gerhard Leib, 620 Old Colony Terrace. And I moved here to Tiverton because I love the opportunity for all the open space that's here, especially for Barton across the street. Thank you for all the people who've created that. Thank you for everyone on the council for fixing the problem that first came to our attention. And I fully endorse and agree with previous comments and the feelings that most of you people in the council have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? All right, Jamie.
Jamie French, 48 Craig Avenue. So what happens to the other 50% of that money? Can I ask that question?
It goes in the general fund for budgeting.
Okay, that's what I assumed, but,
The 75%.
75.
yeah, because it's like
And
25
we
here.
did use it this year because we pulled $1 million from the general fund.
Okay, and, I'm really glad that you're taking out the maintenance of public parks and recreation equipment, because I think that those are things that we could get sponsorship for. Other communities get sponsorship for that, and I've noticed that we're not getting anything from Bay Coast Bank, but Bay Coast Bank has been spending a lot of money in Fall River and Westport and on the island, sponsoring events this summer and just sponsoring a lot of things. And if we don't go and ask them, then we don't get the money. And if we need money for parks or recreation equipment, I think that that's where we should go. And I think that a minimum of 25% is the very minimum. I actually think that the money should be increased more for open space, because the open space in Tiverton has not kept up at all with the growth of Tiverton. We have less open space now than we did when I was a child, but double the population. Because open space then there was just woods, and yes, the woods were privately owned, but it was, but people, you could use them. There wasn't a question of liability. You could get to Stafford Pond. Now it's really difficult. We don't have hardly anything. All of the open space opportunities have been put into south of Boogamarsh Road. And when I've asked about why we don't have open space opportunities north of Boogamarsh Road, I'm told it's because of zoning. Zoning won't allow it, and because, yes?
Jamie, the big problem we have in North Tiverton with open space is the availability of land to buy.
But we had, okay.
We have parcels that we would dearly love to get our hands on, but the owners have to want to sell to us.
Well, there was the 40-acre parcel that sold recently with the long wharf, that was south of Judson and west of Church. And that was on the market for 2 years. And they told me I was told that they would happily have sold to us.
So I gotta ask you, Jamie, when you make statements like that, I was told, who told you that?
I believe it was the people, I believe it was the people involved. And I could be
But
wrong,
that's important.
but I
It's
mean, the land,
important
I'm
because
just, I'm just saying, there is land available. I mean, there is land out there. We could have bought some, there's parcels over on the.
I have to tell you.
West side Stafford Pond, right?
I have to tell you, the Open Space Commission works very diligently.
Right.
And they do a lot of behind the scenes that none of you know about. And sometimes they may be available, but they're too pricey for us. So I don't want to discourage the Open Space Commission with what you're saying, because they are a very good commission. They work very, very hard. They get grants. They do everything they possibly can.
Right. Well, how come, I mean, didn't we have an opportunity to get some land on the west side of Stafford Pond?
Did we what?
A couple of years ago?
Get what?
Some land on the west
I
side.
don't know.
on
Did somebody make
Stafford
an offer,
Pond.
do you know?
I have no idea.
Did somebody make an offer to us?
There
That
had
you're
been a
aware
couple,
of?
it was a number of years ago, yes, there was some in
And-
the town.
and did they approach the town?
As far as I know, I was told by,
I was on the town council, Jamie, and I can assure you that nobody came to us and asked us to buy that land. And I've been on the town council for 12 years. I don't know what land you're talking about.
And Jamie, I do appreciate your advocacy for open space in the north end of town. I live there, I would like more too. At the same time, we have to deal in facts.
Yes.
So if I hear somebody say, well, Joe has some land over there, he told me he'd sell it to you 5 years ago, well, give me Joe's name, and I'll have one of the open space people go talk to Joe.
right,
And if Joe wants to sell it at a reasonable price, and we have the money to do it, and we can find the extra money through our partnerships with other people, they'll try to do it.
right.
But I can't deal with, I was told by this, I'm not sure, I'm sorry, but I do agree
Right.
with you that we need more open space out there.
And there should be opportunities on our comprehensive community plan showing that we have opportunities, because there are no opportunities on a future land use map for North Tiverton. Areas that are currently wooded are zoned R30, and you can't have open space in R30
No, you
according
can.
Yes,
to.
You can, so what would happen?
On the
what would
form-based
happen-
code, it shows that it's a
All
not
right, Jamie,
permitted
I'm
use.
going to end this conversation because I'm telling you some of the stuff you're saying isn't true. Yes, we can buy open space anywhere if the opportunity comes along. So, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Susan?
Susan Anderson, 1137 Main Road. When I served on the Open Space Commission many moons ago, I knew that our non-grant funding for land acquisition came from the real estate fee. At that time, it was 60% of the conveyance tax. And with that amount, we were able to purchase quite a bit of land, and as well as being a significant team member in large land acquisitions with the Land Trust, Tiverton Land Trust, and/or the Nature Conservancy. And to have this percentage any less than this, such as it apparently is now 25% minimum, that's pitiable. You're not going to be able to buy land for that amount, 25%. And I don't care if you're going to get grants, you still can't make up the money. Land is becoming more and more expensive. You need to have at least 50%. I would love to have it back to the 60% that it was when I was a member, back in like you said, 1999. Land is getting more expensive, and it's getting less open space, especially north of 24. We need to acquire more open space while we still can. As Deb said, it is getting less and less, especially north of 24. There's even more housing planned for this area, thus removing the green space that we now have and wildlife habitats. And all the wildlife are moving into our backyards. The comprehensive plan states as one of the top 3 priorities for the next 20 years is, quote, pursuing all possible means to secure undeveloped land in the underserved north part of town to be used for public green space and/or recreation. And quoting from the actions section under 9.4 in the comp plan, it states, preserving open space maintains the town's desirable rural character and scenic quality by saving forest, fields, and streams rather than permitting the town to develop into a continuum of residential subdivisions, stores, parking lots, and malls. The comp plan also recognizes the tax burden caused by residential development. Quote, those new tax revenues are almost always exceeded by larger public expenditures for additional community services, i.e. schools, storm drainage, street lights, fire and police protection, etc. As a result, typical residential development eventually costs more to local communities than it provides in tax revenues. When the economics of environmental services such as flood control, water purification, recreational benefits, agricultural activities, and home values is considered, the cost-benefit advantage of open space is even greater. I agree with what you've done so far in getting the recreation out and getting it under the purview of the Open Space Commission again. However, you need to up that percentage so that we can actually have more than enough money to, you do it this year, and what's to prevent you from not doing it? You need to have 60% or 50% as a minimum, because land is getting more expensive, and you're not going to be able to it would cover the increase of the cost of acquiring land and the need to acquire the current green space north of 24, such as the 66 acres between 24 Main and Sousa, as well as the Hicks property, farther north.
It's been 3 minutes, but what I'm trying to explain to you is this year we only took 25%. So we cannot change that. It's the budget that's already been proposed.
And it's going to go before next year?
But I have to tell you, this was decreased a couple of years ago by the previous council.
When did that?
It was zeroed out by Donna Cook.
It was zeroed out?
It was zeroed out.
From
So
60 to 0?
You're right, so what we did was increase it to 25 for this year.
But it's still not enough.
I agree with you, but every year this will be looked at. This year, we decided to bring it up to the 25. There is money in that account, though, that always accumulates. Am I correct? Yes. So I don't know what's in that account. I'm sure I can find out. But there is always money in that account and it goes up and up and up every year. So it's not just that.
We
It's
need-
not just that 25% that's in there right now. Am I
But
right,
when did,
gentlemen?
but when did we zero it out? So,
A couple of years ago.
so that means that we weren't putting money in
Correct.
for at least a
I
couple
can't
of
remember,
years.
it was a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, and I think it was
After
1 year, then it went up to 10,
1999.
and then I got it up to 20.
It was 0, then it went to 10, then it kept going up. And we brought it up to 25. But we can't change it today because that's what we budgeted for.
But
all right.
we need to comply with the comprehensive
Yeah.
plan and getting land north of 24.
We will look at it every year.
Susan, I promise you, next year I will try again.
Yeah. By
Brian.
next year, it might be too late.
Brian?
I'll be brief. I appreciate everybody's comments. A lot of discussion about the percentage, and having been on open space for 25 years now, I think, I just wanted to do a brief history lesson. The conveyance tax was being collected by the state, and 80% was being kept by the state. 20% went back to the towns. In 1998, the state legislature found themselves flush with money and decided to reverse the ratio. And the sponsors of that state legislation actually wanted it earmarked for open space acquisition, the additional revenue, but ultimately the language didn't require that, but encouraged it. And so a few towns took advantage of it. We heard about it, and that's how we proposed it at Financial Town Meeting, that this new 60%, and that's where that number came from, this new cash of 60% be used for open space acquisition because it could be approved with no cost, no new cost to the town. And so that went through and it was approved. And at the same time, in that meeting, they also approved the ability to borrow up to $250,000 for open space acquisition as well, with the idea that if we didn't have enough in the kitty, future income into that kitty would help pay off any loans. And we actually used that in a couple of occasions. And we have been actively looking, you know, as Jay said, the opportunities in North Tiverton for natural environments are.
Now, that was a resolution that was voted at the town meeting, right? It was a resolution?
Yes.
Should that have been voted on every year? So
It was
that,
supposed to be.
that may need to be in this ordinance then, that they can borrow.
Oh, the borrowing?
The borrowing, because,
Oh, no, I mean, that's not long. That wasn't a resolution, that expires at the next budget year, so.
right, so that's expired, but they're
Yeah.
still doing it. So that's what I'm saying.
Well, I guess, I mean, only the council can really borrow, so.
But that wouldn't go into this.
Well, I'm just
Yeah.
asking, because they're doing it, and they have approval to borrow $250,000.
But you're
Well,
saying
I don't believe they
but
do have the
that's the
authority.
state's.
Yeah.
No?
No.
I think that,
Let's vote it
the
out.
other thing that happened is following that financial town meeting, the town solicitor at the time was of the opinion that it did not have to be, that this was a sort of a permanent vote and it did not have to be renewed each year. And it was years later, with some new town solicitors coming in, that opinion changed.
The problem that not a problem, but the issue that I recall when I first got here was that I believe we were putting aside 25% of that revenue.
It was 60%.
Whatever it was, whatever the percentage
No, it
was,
wasn't 60 when he got it.
whatever the percentage was, but there was no resolution to back it up. One or a couple of years, there was no resolution to back it up. We were just kind of doing it. And that's certainly not appropriate.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
that's why the benefit of the process that we're following now is that, first of all, we changed the budget process, but second of all, the voters changed the budget process, but this is now an ordinance, and it's clear that it doesn't have to be renewed every year. The borrowing, I had to look at the original resolution, but without looking at the actual language, my opinion would be that would expire at the end of that budget year, whenever it was. You wouldn't have it unlimited forever to borrow $250,000, but
So
we
maybe
can
we
check
should-
it. Oh, you get the resolution, thank you.
Maybe we should address that now.
Thank you, I'll look at that, thank you.
Should we address that?
No,
now?
because that's a separate issue.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, because it's not a restricted
And
receipts.
fantastic idea to
But thank you
Just
for,
rude.
Well, I'm just
And
asking
actually
because.
Not have to do it every year.
Right, so we should put that in some kind of ordinance eventually, so that they still have the power, the borrowing.
let's look at
Okay, we'll talk about it.
The statute might just allow it.
No. I remember when this was all.
Thank you, Brian.
Well, it
First of all,
doesn't have to be an agenda, we can add anything to it.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Well, anyway, okay, so anyone else like to speak? I'm going to close the public hearing. I have a motion on the floor in a second. Any further discussion from the council?
So can I, just to include in the motion to allow the solicitor to make any technical amendments, such as we missed a period,
Oh, yeah.
those types of things?
Is that okay with whoever seconded?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so motion's been made in second. Any further discussion? Something
Have we
else?
motioned the whole thing? No, we haven't. So we didn't vote on that last amendment. So first we have to vote on this last amendment, and then we have to vote on the whole thing.
Right, and
Okay.
that's what I'm voting on.
Oh, okay.
The last amendment.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And then voting on the whole thing.
Correct, as amended.
Yeah, because that's what the motion was for the last amendment. Okay. Thank you for setting me straight.
I wasn't clear.
All right, all right. So I know what I'm voting on, yeah. So we're voting on what Mike had said, the motion that was made. Okay, motion's been made in second. All those in favor? Okay. Now on the entire thing, correct?
As amended.
As amended.
I would make a motion to approve the proposed Article 5 ordinance as amended with the authorization for the solicitor to make any technical amendments as necessary.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for reaching out to and pointing that out to us, or to me, anyway.
So we are moving on to the bathroom. Oh, right there. We're moving on to item 8A, Bruce Thompson, 126 Chace Avenue, request for town to abandon an undeveloped portion of Chace Avenue and the planning board recommendation. I have to find it.
So I can just,
Go ahead.
the solicitor's office looked at this. We determined that we do not own this road. It was not dedicated for public purposes, so we don't have the ability to abandon it. So it really is a moot point. Exactly.
So for those so this is similar to the
Saudi
situation that
Pond.
we looked at Saudi Pond, where we learned by research on the solicitor and others' part that we do not have we do not own that land.
The road was never dedicated for public purpose. It was never accepted into the town, and there's really, we don't own it.
So therefore, this is a moot point.
So I did,
Michael?
Mike, I did read all of that, so who owns that? Is it that Bayview Club, or do we not know?
It's usually,
I know, but
it's usually half and half. But I haven't looked at the plans, but all I can tell you is that we don't own it. I'm not going to make a legal opinion as to who owns it, but I can tell you that we do not own it.
okay.
So this is
So this is.
tabled indefinitely? Okay. Police Chief Patrick Jones. Please, we have approval and vote of budget transfers for fiscal year '23. I'm not going to read the account numbers. $5,000 from personnel services to department manager salary, $5,000 from personnel services to deputy chief, $25,000 from personnel services to overtime, $1,100 from uniform replacement to clothing, $390.41 from electric to heat, $3,000 from electric to tires, parts, and auto, $1,500 from electric to telephone, $2,000 from psychological to operations, $4,000 from radio to IT, and $1,200 from radio to station maintenance. Anything in particular you need to point out to us?
I don't think so, sir.
Any questions on any of those requested budget transfers? Hearing none, do I have a motion? Motion to approve, Joe, second?
Second.
Jay, Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
So we're on.
Yes, C. Administrator Cotta, approval and vote of budget transfers for FY23, $25,600 from account 10206890 TC contingency to 10507159 litigation. And that's because of the ongoing ongoing stuff that we have going. 17,000 from account 1020-689, Town Council contingency to account 1140-5100, Department Manager Planner. 35,100 from account 1020-689, 6890, TC contingency to account 2300, 5295, unfunded liability. Chris, anything you want to add to this?
Not at this time, no.
Any questions? Entertain a motion.
Move approval. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Administrator Cotta, approval and vote budget transfers for FY23, 15,000 from account 2190, 5268, Group Health Active to account 2190, 5269, Group Health Retiree. $13,505 from 2190, 5268, Group Health Active to account 2190-7920, Town Buildings, Personal Property.
Moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Motion's been made in second. All those in favor? Okay. Council President DiMaggio's update on recycling center and possible dates to collect yard waste. Chris, are you
So,
giving the update?
The recycling center permit is filtering its way through DEM as we speak for the main recycling center. As it relates to and we hope to get that back within a few weeks, so we can then go out to bid and get some construction done for the main recycling center, and hopefully get that off the ground in the fall. In the meantime, when we went out for bid for the trash pickup, recycling pickup, as part of that bid, we did include yard waste pickup, and I believe Rick has it's been published out on the website, both, I think, police, fire, ours. We've put notice out as to the dates that Megan will be doing those yard waste pickups.
Rick, could we have those dates? Do you have them available? So that we could publicly announce it now? My emails are full of people asking me this. Like, 50% of my emails will go away if we decide this. Rick?
But I will see if I have those with me. They are available on the town website, but I'll see if I have them with me now.
Mike's looking.
So I have them right here. So they must be in brown biodegradable 30-gallon yard waste bags or tied bundles of small sticks and branches less than 3 feet long and 3 inches in diameter. The limit is the equivalent of 6 bags per household. It must be placed curbside on your regular trash day by 6 a.m. And in 2023, it's the weeks of July 17th, August 14th, September 11th, October 9th, October 23rd, November 6th, November 20th, and December 18th.
And I did find that, Denise and Mike, and yes, of course, you're correct.
And I think this is going to make the community very happy because I've learned over the past few months that yard waste is a big issue here in Tiverton.
Most certainly is.
So we did take care of the problem, and everyone out there, you should be happy about it and get your yard waste out on your curb. All right.
On those dates.
On those
On
dates.
your trash day.
And we do recommend you don't put them out too early, because if it rains, the bags obviously get wet, and then they rip when they get collected.
And I will use your reminder, no plastic bags.
Correct, thank you.
It's just the paper bags you buy at the...
At Benny's.
At Benny's or at wherever.
Benny's isn't around.
Benny's isn't
We
even
still have
around.
Benny's.
Home Depot or Job Lot or, yes. Job Lot's where I get them. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Council President DiMaderis, discussion on potential dates for discussion and distribution of FY22 casino gaming revenue, possible July 17th, which is an off Monday. I've had...
Wait a minute, you missed
just
Animal Control
Oh, I'm
Center?
sorry. Discussion regarding Animal Control Center and plans as of June 30th, 2023, when the current contract expires.
So I'll defer to the chief, but we've been working.
Patrick? He has no idea why I just called him up here.
So we've been working with the animal control officer to try to find a suitable relocation for animal control to drop stray dogs. We're trying to work with the state as far as trying to find a solution to this. We do know that there is something going on with cats right now that just cross state lines, but trying to see if they'll make an amendment to allow us to do the placing paws, because they are right next door. When I say right next door, they are right on the town line.
Yeah, and I just want, and Patrick will agree with me, this was an issue a few years ago, and they would not let us cross state lines with
Correct.
dogs or
Correct.
cats, which...
They would, but then your animal would have to be quarantined for 5 days.
For 5 days. So it was like, where are you
Which
going to
makes no
put these
sense.
animals for 5 days before you...
So the only
send them
alternative right
across
now is to
state
take
line?
it to the state's holding center, which is in Cranston.
So our animal control officer has been in touch with Forever Paws, I guess DEM, along with the SPCA. DEM is the licensing authority for state animal shelters. So the ACO has been in contact with DEM, with SPCA, so they can work with us. Also, she has spoken to the executive director of Forever Paws, who is interested in getting a Rhode Island license. So this way they could have dual licensing in both states, which would be very helpful. We've also reached out to the Portsmouth Animal Control Officer to see in an emergency if we could utilize one of their cages, and then we would reimburse the town of Portsmouth. So we got a couple of options that we're working through. It shouldn't be an issue.
The funniest moment that I remember from past is that someone came up and said, well, half those pets are from Fall River anyway, so they cross state lines, so why can't we bring them back? And I remember that, and because of how close the state lines are. And it was kind of funny, but it is true. I mean, so the pets...
Fall River forever.
No, but the state lines, pets are wandering into Tiverton. Where do you know they're coming from?
Right.
My dog came from Texas.
So I just thought that was, I remember
Right.
that very clearly as one of the moments I remember, was this person came up and said that. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Just had to fix mine.
Council President DiMaderis, discussion potential dates for discussion and distribution of FY22 casino gaming revenue, possible date in July of 17th, 2023. I've been in several discussions with the school committee chairman on this. The superintendent keeps putting in agenda requests every time I do an agenda. We were waiting for the safety report to come in, because I think that is something that we wanted to look at, to put some of the casino money through there. Safety report has come in. There's a discussion on whether or not we are privy to it, which I feel that I can't make any decisions on casino revenue until I see what the safety report says and whether our schools are safe. We have casino money to spend on that. So we are in discussion. I do know the attorney for the school committee is trying to figure out if they could bring us into an executive session to discuss this. So that's why I'm pushing the date to July 17th right now. My opinion, and I'll discuss it with all of you the meeting before, if we still are not privy to that safety report, I'm thinking we just keep pushing it back. I talked to Chris, and he'll be prepared for July 17th.
From the municipal side, not from the school side.
The municipal side's already prepared. So we're just waiting for that. So July 17th, we felt was a fair date at this point. Well, is everyone available for that? It's a Monday. It's our off Monday. Okay.
Question?
Yes.
So this is only for the FY22 revenue?
And then we'll do it
So we-
FY23.
And we've spent,
Roughly 900,000, I think.
yeah, so we have about 2.1 or so.
No, we didn't earmark that much money at all.
No, we have 2.1
Oh,
or so
yeah,
left
I'm sorry.
remaining.
Yeah, I think the town took it's right around 900,000, I was looking at it, 8 something. Okay, so do I have a motion for, do I need a motion for, no, okay.
Do you have a time?
Oh, it'll be 7 o'clock and we'll do it here.
Do it here.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be a crowd. Discussion and possible vote to amend resolution establishing Public Safety Complex Committee to include alternate members from the public. It was the chief's idea, and I was told why it was the chief's idea. I just think we purposely put the amount of members we put there because we don't want a large committee. And even though they can't vote, sometimes the discussion will get lengthy and decisions are difficult to make with a lot of committee members. So I think we gave it a lot of thought on these committees. Anyone else have any comments? Jay? People can
Alternates
come.
Can be
People
a
can
good
come.
idea, but in this particular instance, I don't think they'll be particularly useful. So I don't think we want to amend it.
Anyone else?
Well, we also have amendment, I mean, there's changes to dates also. That wasn't the only part of the amendment.
That's all that's on here. That's all on my agenda, that's all I was told.
You had previously changed the date.
Yeah.
At the
We
last
had already
meeting.
voted for that?
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna put it on this
No,
this
we changed
agenda.
those.
We can only vote on what I put on the agenda, and that was the request.
We voted last time for that? Okay.
So, I mean, I really don't, if you all agree with that, unless someone wants to make a motion for alternates. Jamie, you wanted to speak on this?
I think you should.
Okay.
On all, on this committee, it doesn't make the committee any bigger.
No, it just makes the discussion can sometimes be lengthier.
Committees get cumbersome.
Big committees get very cumbersome, and that's why we were trying not to make it too big, and that's why we gave a lot of thought to how many members were going to be on each committee. Anyone else have any discussion?
We're just saying,
All
we
right.
had an 11-member budget committee.
I don't, if an alternate is that other committee, I mean, the zoning I know has alternates, right? Zoning Board of Review.
But that's by law. That's by law.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, and I think-
But, I mean, it doesn't add to the confusion, or, I would just think it would add to inclusion if people have things to offer.
But they can come to the public hearings, because they're all public meetings, and I'm sure the chairman of these committees will let the public speak. I think that that's important, but I think that a small amount of people, because these committees are already pretty big.
So all these meetings have to be posted, advertised on the
Yes,
Secretary of
the whole
State's with an agenda. So everyone will know what they're being discussed, and the public is always welcome. These are open meetings.
Right,
There are
and
no
then-
reason for these meetings to be closed under any circumstances that I can tell, except that maybe if they're talking about safety standards for the police department, something. But other than that, most of these meetings would be open.
And they will be on the agendas?
And they have to be on the agenda has to be specific enough so that the public knows what's going on in those meetings, yes.
They have to follow the public meeting law.
Correct.
I still think that you should take alternates, but you do what you do. Thank you.
Mike, do you have?
No.
Okay. So unless there's a motion to add, then we can move on.
And I would have the same.
And the same
For aye.
discussion would be for the Tiverton North End and Industrial Park Subcommittee. I feel the same way about that. I don't know if the rest of you agree with me.
No.
Anyone want to make a motion? No. Okay. Town Administrator, discussion and possible vote regarding municipal capital and public safety vehicle purchase.
Okay, I'll bring the chief up. Want to talk about cars?
You really do have to pay attention today.
David, can you sit over here so we can pay attention to you
Yeah,
guys?
David, stop it.
He's had a tough day, so.
Yeah, we're talking cars again, David, and I'm sure you wanted to be here.
So, and I know that normally we utilize gaming monies for these kind of purposes, and we do have some municipal capital monies. that were generated from the municipal side of the budget, from surpluses and budgets, or other town side and non-school side of the budget. The chief has an opportunity to acquire some cars for both the fire department and the police department. The issue with it is if we don't buy them now, we're not ever gonna get them. So that's why I'd be looking to utilize the municipal capital monies. There wouldn't be a request in the gaming money when he comes along. And I do know, Council President, you asked me to ask all the other department heads about, you know, I have.
I think it was only fair to ask the other department heads.
It was, but they will basically come in for gaming monies. We have tried to limit the amount that we use the municipal capital for, as long as he doesn't come in asking for the same thing on the gaming, although he would for the following year.
I just have a question. Am I missing the price?
They're about $250,000 for.
And we would do the USDA grant, which is the next item. So we would get paid for, one will be paid for by the grant, three will be paid for.
Buy 4, get 1 free.
So it's like 150 and 50.
What do we have in the municipal capital account right now?
261.
So we're gonna flat out the municipal capital.
Oh, we wouldn't use it all because we're gonna put the USDA grant back in there. So it would be like 150 of the 260.
So we would put it back in.
It would automatically go back in that account?
Yes, we would provision that when.
Assuming we get it.
We've done that with every time we.
But that's assuming we get it, like Jay said, so.
But every time we have put that money back in. I
We don't have a
really,
problem getting that grant.
But that will deplete it if we don't get it.
It would, but we will get that. But that-
What money goes in there now?
I was just gonna ask
So
that.
it's, what, the residual at the end of the year, it's like
25%.
of whatever excesses that we didn't spend, of all budget accounts, it gets
Go in
carved up, so much goes to paving. I know, it's just-
of unexpended funds after we do everything.
So what did we put in it this year, do you know?
Almost 250,000.
So the money that is in there now?
It'll be there.
Okay.
And if I just could, just for purposes of this, we know that this is an unusual request and it is not meant to discount any of the other requests from any of the department heads. Last year, the council authorized the purchase of 3 police vehicles. As of this date, I have 1. Because what ends up happening, because of just the cycle that we utilize here, the cars get released just like normal cars around January and February. So by the time we did the gaming conversation with the grant, all the cars were gone. So not only did we have to wait until the new model year, we paid 8% more to get the new model years, and as of this date, I don't have them. We also have 4 cruisers that are completely disabled. They're Dodge Chargers, of which 3 no longer work. And I can tell you that I've been your police chief for 5 years. I've never purchased a Dodge Charger. So those are the cars that Chief Blakey purchased that we're still utilizing.
It was Blakey.
So, and they're over 100 they're hard miles, and of course, they all broke at the same time. So we were able to reach out to our vendor and say, can you just hold us cars? To include the fire department and us, because without your approval, they're gonna sell them tomorrow. And that's what happened to us last year.
Mike,
Make a motion.
go ahead.
Motion to approve the purchase of 4 public safety vehicles, 2 for the fire department, 2 for the police department, from the existing municipal capital funds.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Discussion possible vote regarding USDA grant applications for public safety vehicles.
So this is obviously in connection with that. This is the community facilities grant that we've gotten in the past. This year, the allocation that USDA has given us is $58,000. So I can pretty much tell you we're going to get $58,000.
Any questions?
She's gonna be good this week.
Correct,
Any
correct.
questions for the chief? All right, entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the chief applying for the USDA grant application for public safety vehicles.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I know you were.
Thank you.
I thought you were going to talk. Town administrator discussion, possible vote regarding School Department Forensic Audit to encumber funds for audit from the Council Contingency account.
So I found an RFP that was out there. It wasn't from Rhode Island, it was from another state. I kind of emulated, copied it for our purpose. I did find out during this process that the town of Johnson had been going through some issues, and they were looking at doing some oversight of their capital needs. Mike sent me something today that showed that they're actually doing a full forensic audit of the schools. I reached out to the mayor today to see if I could get a copy of the RFP and a copy of whatever solicitation they put out so that we could, again, utilize that. The council has already made its decision for this year somewhat blindly. So we have some time now that the budget's in place. I'm not asking you to vote on this tonight. I would ask you to give me any kind of input. If I'm missing something, if there's something else you want to see in it. And I will get the one from Johnston to see if there's some other language that we need to incorporate. I also need to find out from them, did they have to go through the state auditor general to get approval? So there's other steps I want to make sure that we follow the right rules to do this.
But why wouldn't you want to encumber the council contingency from this year? Is there anything left over?
Well, we could do that.
There is a lot left over.
We
Yeah, so
could,
why don't we encumber that, then we have the funds?
that's fine. Do we have to do that tonight, though?
Well, soon. Yeah.
Pretty much.
It's been in the
Or else we-
yes.
Yes, she
Or else
said
we
yes.
come back by Friday.
Yeah.
We got 3 days.
So how much do you?
No, we're not coming back in 3 days.
So how much do you want to encumber? What is left over in that?
Johnson did
Quoted is
68,000. 68,0and. So, and I said 70, 75, but,
All right, and we have that in there, there's, yeah. Do you want,
Let's just do something.
yeah, I would like you
do
to
we
at
have
least earmark
100 in
that.
there? Do you want to encumber 100 just in case?
Make a motion that we encumber not to exceed $100,000 from the town council contingency account for the purpose of forensic audit of the school department with an RFP to be developed and brought back to us by the town administrator.
Second.
Motion been made second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
And please do give me whatever input if
Yeah.
you think I'm missing something here.
Okay. Town administrator, treasurer, discussion, possible vote to classify, allocate, and transfer of funds to cover prior expenditures requiring budget classification assignment. There's a lot said there.
So
Let's explain this.
during the year, there was two things. There was the legal settlement with Northborough that you approved the payment of, which we did pay. The issue is it was never classified to an account because we didn't know what account to pay it out. So it's basically sitting in suspense right now.
Okay.
So we would take that and move council contingency monies to pay for that $30,000. And the other thing we did was we put air conditioning in this room. Again, I didn't have any account to pay it from, and if that would be amenable as well. It does get the bills cleared off the treasurer's desk so that we can get them.
And where do you want to take the 8,000 from? Is there enough in council contingency? Okay, so I need a motion. What? But that's it, okay. So I need a motion to take transfer $30,000 out of council contingency for the Northborough condo complex negotiated, paid in November 22, and $8,000 from the council contingency for the ductless, for the AC in the council chamber.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and second. All those in favor? Is that it?
That's it for open?
Okay.
And Tim is on his way over for executive. So.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session. Town Administrator, Rhode Island General Law 42465A2, collective bargaining update on Teamsters Local 251. Solicitor Marcello, Rhode Island General Law 42465, litigation, potential litigation regarding West Place Animal Sanctuary related to past services. Town Administrator, Rhode Island General Law 42465, discussion related to the acquisition or lease or purchase of real property for public purposes where the early disclosure should be detrimental to public interest. Town Administrator, Rhode Island General Law 42585, discussion related to the sale of publicly held property in the Tiverton Industrial Park and related to prospective business located in the state town where an open meeting would be detrimental effect on the interests of the public.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yes.
that was loud, Joe.
Sorry. I want to make sure everybody can hear me at home.
Yeah, 5-minute break, we gotta wait for Tim anyway.